Yeah, that's a really good one. I do think coming back to culture, you're looking for people with a growth mindset, being proactive and biased to action and these types of things. And so when you start to cultivate that throughout all the teams, stagnation is probably worse than bad performance.
Hey, Marcus, so good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ricky. Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Hey, I know you're doing some awesome things at Auror and like you're a big shot now, but give us the rundown. Tell us, how did you get into marketing in the first place?
Oh, well, it's a really interesting one. So my background, my father's as a chef. He's a Michelin trained chef.
Right.
This fella, and worked with some top restaurants and was the personal chef to the Saudi prince, and then met my mother in hospitality. She was a waitress, and she's real creative around desserts and things like that. So I think actually, creativity has been alive in our household in terms of food. And then you're kind of going beyond that. I was like, okay, well, there's this creative juices always going. And then there was always just asking the question, like, why am I buying this product? Why do I have an affinity to this thing that's not real, right? Or this brand or this ad? And why do I feel so passionate about it? And then kind of putting those two things together was like, who are the people behind, creating these experiences that make me want to buy things? And so I kind of dabbled on the sales side, enterprise sales, and loved that, one-to-one and getting on the front foot, but then kind of got the passion of, I could do one-to-one or I could do one-to-many, right? How can I shift thinking and shift behaviors? And that's how I kind of took the sales side and pushed it into the marketing side, around exporting, amplifying and going bigger.
Nice. And now I had to deal with quotas.
Yes. That's actually right.
Yeah. And then Auror, mate, how did that come about? Obviously, I know a little bit about it, but tell us more.
Yeah, well, good mate of mine. This is one of the founder of Data Chefs, Tom Bambury. So we went to university together, did uni and did the exact degrees. He's got 3 kids now, I've got 2. So it's been working in a lot of areas. But he'd founded Auror, which was before Auror was called Identify, founded my own company in Plus. And so we were always starting to connect it. I was connected to what the business was up to and where they were going. And I finished up with my company, and the classic, you're a founder and you're doing everything from washing the dishes to sales to legal to people to reconciling accounts on zero, fundraising and blah blah blah. I was like, what do I want to do? And Tom was like, hey, we're just getting going. We're a New Zealand-based business. We want to go offshore. Just come on board. We'll figure something out. Bit part marketing, bit part commercial, bit part strategy, BD. And I was like, perfect. Doesn't sound like 1,000 things. It sounds like 100. Love it. Let's get my hands around that. So that was about 6 years ago now, and done a bunch since then. So been really close to it, and now I'm glad to be a part of it.
Nice. And tell us a little bit about Auror. Maybe give us a bit of an insight as to how big the team is, so we can ask you further questions on that.
Yeah, awesome. So just for the listeners who don't know what Auror is, a crime intelligence platform helping retailers identify a small amount of people, usually 10% of people that are causing about 90 to 95% of the theft and harm in organizations. And then distributing the intelligence both to law enforcement and to the retail community to be able to stop these people. So for context, some of our customers, one of the big ones is losing $6 billion USD a year to theft. It's involved
6 billion?
It's pretty, $6 billion US. That's bigger than some of our biggest retailers here just in theft.
Yeah.
So we're helping them identify, the 100,000 people causing most of that and then stopping it. In terms of team size, we are done around 200 now that are on the classic scale journey, scaling up to around 300 by the end of this year across all divisions, customer side, product side, to be able to support global and our future ambition.
Nice.
That's a good size team. Like once you're getting up that 200-300, it's lots of headaches to care.
Oh yeah. You're kind of reflecting on it when I think the sweet spot we were sitting at that 45, and you're sitting next to the VP engineering, and everyone is just this real connection. You're working by osmosis, really connected, and I think we even felt the pain going from that to 100. We had to redo our culture and scale and everything else. So now we're on that second wave of 200-person company now, onboarding and processing and alignment and connection is really, really important. So
can't remember everyone's name when you walk around an office anymore, and you're like, who knows?
Oh man, I'm really lucky because I do an intro to marketing as part of the onboarding experience, and I love it because I actually get to meet everyone, across the globe, and spend 20 minutes on the intro and spend the 40 minutes on the who are you? How'd your lives you? And
Marcus, as you now going from 100, 200, or 200 to 400, or whatever your goal is, What are you having to shift? What are you having to change? What processes, discipline are you having to bring in?
There's so much. It's almost like the third wave of rebuild, right? When you start to bring on things like documentation, like really basic and boring things, like documentation is actually really important. How do we make sure that we're capturing the learnings and the challenges and just the context for people to be able to perform? When we're looking at culture getting far more specialized in the types of roles you're bringing on, right? You go from sort of generalists to bringing it down to specialists. And for me, I've had to rebuild myself as a people leader and everyone in people leadership, right? I'm not doing ISU and leadership and everything that we're doing. I need to make sure we're pushing context throughout culture, guiding principles, vision, the way we connect, the way we think. Everything has to change in that. Our organizational goals, how they ladder down to individuals. You can't rely on I can just have a chat with the founder or Marcus now, right? To get the context. You need to waterfall that down quickly through async and sync. So, lots of things. I think we've changed the guiding principles twice, to better map out the company want to be. But that's not just guiding principles. That's the way we hire, that's the way we connect, the way we sync, the way we document, the discipline around execution, discipline around workflows, all those types of things. So, lots.
And as you've grown to this sort of size, have you seen the way you look at your metrics and use your metrics change? Has it changed at all? Is it the same as it was back then? Or are you finding that, there's a lot more data-driven decision-making occurring, a lot more focus on having and understanding those metrics?
100%, on the past, it was like pipeline coverage.
Yeah.
That's all that was to us. And probably the product and NPS.
Yeah.
Because they're really, really basic. And I think it's one of the learnings of Standard was getting a lot more discipline around metrics, like what is our time to close? What is our cost to acquire? A whole bunch more in product around how people are using it. Even in the marketing sense, pipeline, cool. Pipeline at a certain stage. We want pipeline right up to pilot. We've got high confidence. So we're hand in hand with sales right up to the point of closure, not just at, here's an opportunity, off you go. And making sure we've got that real alignment across the way, but then breaking it down, when you go inside certain functions like ours, we're looking at certain metrics around brand, demand generation, how we stay in front of mind with our target accounts. Then we're going into demand capture, how are we closing that? What's our percentage of close for those that are in market or showing intent? How do we increase that? Then you go into demand conversion. What are the tactics and playbooks that are increasing revenue per store in terms of account expansion, and then speed to market based on the different verticals we're going after. So, certainly there's a lot more discipline, a lot more forward-facing on where we invest based on what's working or not.
I suppose the challenge with a lot of the Kiwi tech companies or Aussie tech companies is that when you're then branching out to other countries and regions, so your home market may be at a stage where it's somewhat mature, but then you enter in UK and it's another startup, then go to the US, it's just another mini startup. So how do you ensure that consistency stays across the different stages of the business?
100%. Well, we've got a couple of things from a leadership perspective is making sure we're really tight, small, connected, highly synced team across the regions and then with global operations. And that's not just catching up and chatting about priorities and blockers. It's actually getting real connection. Other clubs, where we're at, you feel like you can call me at any time, whatever it is, and we can have those candid conversations. As we go into markets, to your point, we've got more markets that are more mature than others. We don't do marketing. We haven't done marketing for 5 years in a couple of more mature markets, and it's just a flywheel moving over versus understanding where the US is versus UK, startup versus growth, and then understanding also where your pipeline and revenue's coming from and investing accordingly. So that cohesion and everyone's on the same map. They understand, we get this amount of investment because that's how much revenue growth is, and actually we're forward-facing on brand because we're new to market, so that's why we're investing heavily on that side of things. Versus in this market, actually we're more focused on that pipeline nurture and pushing it through. So what are the investments we want there, and also the revenue targets higher. So right-sizing the investments, right-sizing why we're doing it in each region, and making sure everyone's on board with that.
Mate, just further to that, what about centralizing versus decentralizing teams? Have you guys navigated that complexity? Obviously, as you said, you're a tight-knit group, and that's all well and good to a certain stage. But as you progress, are you bringing on leaders in other countries and geos, or is the main exec team located in New Zealand? How's some of those conversations taking place?
Yeah, to date, main exec team is based in New Zealand, and then we have global operations based in New Zealand. So product is all here in New Zealand. Marketing as a global function is predominantly here. Commercial RevOps is here. Then in regions, we've got regional leaders and then customer-facing teams in those regions. But what we're starting to see things explore is having more technical integrations or technical specialists in those markets, strategy specialists in those markets to support the customer-facing teams. And yeah, to date, ops and products, and then customer-facing teams in the region.
Yeah, nice. Lots
of their miles as well.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you have to. HQ is somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. Look, as you think about then taking on bigger competitors as you enter the North American market, where go-to-market strategy and sales and marketing expenses, it's all go, go, go. And, companies operate at different levels. Sales and marketing expenses of those companies is typically around 60 to 70%, perhaps even higher. Now, from the land of, long white cloud, where everything is frugal, have you adjusted to that market? Have you then gone to compete with these bigger brands? And what's kind of been the learnings there, Marcus?
Yeah, it's a really good question. There's different stages, when you're entering, you're you're in starving, and then you're starting to scale. And then the success we saw really early on into the US has been really hyper-focused on not just the persona we were going after, but the exact clients we were going after. They were a handful. We were really apologetic about, we're a disruptive product category creator. And so we knew that we were trying to attract the innovators, the disruptors in market, versus the people who've been in positions for longer. And it's talents of experience. And so once we knew that, we go, where do they consume? Where do they consume internal content? Where are they turning up at events? How are they turning up? How do we connect with those people? How do we create something so unique in terms of a content and thought leadership perspective that resonates with them? That there is a better way, there's a new way of doing something, and just being unapologetic with those that wouldn't agree with that. Just being really hyper focused there, and then that concentrates the investment right in. So one persona, exact accounts, and let's go after them. And then as we went through that, and as you attract those and get our first runs on the board, you start to expand beyond that. So the classic case of, founder and management-led sales, got to 10 million. Got the accounts around, and here we've got the pipeline. We're not looking forward. And so setting the priority of, we've got, early stage category creation, early stage product market set, some really good stories now in the US to tell. We need to build a predictable, consistent revenue engine here and expand. And that's where we expanded personas, verticals, the accounts. We're going after an alignment with sales, functional alignment around the priorities, and spend to bring that to life. And then we managed to do that as well. And then I guess we still have competitors that are spending 60 to 70%. It's how you're spending that money. They might end up spending 4 times as much as you at a trade show. You do a simple thing like put some yellow hats on you, yellow cowboy hats on you. I know your staff, I know your champions, and everyone's going, what the heck? Everyone wants to hang out with that team now, right? So it's not always more money equals more, brand traction and awareness. It's really how getting really creative. And I love constraint. It's not just like here's an open checkbook. It's like, no, how do we drive absolute impact at every touch point within this? And we want to expand, let's expand. A good starting point is starting with less.
Nice. Hey, along the scale-up journey, one of the main things I guess we learned was the playbook that's been so successful, often breaks, and it breaks at the time when you're having to crank the shaft in both the home market and new markets. Obviously self-doubt creeps in. So how often does that happen, Marcus? And how do you kind of get around to it as a team? Like what sort of structure? You mentioned about culture, you have a strong culture, you're maintaining that. But what else are you doing to ensure that, you're not taking too much external advice in and you're keeping core to what's worked for you and you kind of, maintaining that status quo?
Yeah, that's a really good one. I guess coming back to culture, looking for people with a growth mindset, being proactive and biased to action in these types of things. And so when you start to cultivate that throughout all the teams, stagnation is probably worse than bad performance. It's the ability to coast. As much as you do something, you create a win off a big investment, you're coming back and going, celebrate the win, then I'll just quickly look around and take this to another level. I think that's where we've had quite a bit of success. There's no let up on to get better and next level and having people along with that journey. We're playbooks. To your point, we know the core of our playbooks. They continue to perform well. But then we're always experimenting around that, right? Knowing that at any point this could drop. What is our plan B, C, D, and E? And then as those things are successful, we're adding them into the playbook and making sure that the playbook is a book. They're not done in silos. They're actually all working together. Whether that be owned events and trade shows are working hand in hand with content strategy, working hand in hand with brand, products, and app, sales enablement channels. So I'm thinking more of an ecosystem of Rev Engine. But yeah, I think making the core, get it better, and then knowing that, keep compounding the work beyond that and adding to it.
Can you expand on that a bit and think, well, like we talk metrics, they become more important. They're something you focus on more. When you think about that shift where you've gone from like less driven around metrics and playbooks and structure to where you are now, can you think of like one or two things that you wish you actually had been focusing on in the early days? Is there like a couple of things that you look back and gone, hey, these actually were really important. If we'd had them, that would have been helpful. Because we talk to a lot of people about this expansion journey and everyone pretty much says the same stuff, right? At some point, metrics become really important. Structure becomes really important. The machine becomes really important. One of the things I'm finding fascinating is investigating, hey, is there one or two things out of that you wish you'd done earlier? Because for the people on the journey now, that little bit of nugget might be the difference between success and failure.
Yeah, it's a really good one. Yeah, thinking about syndicated content and sponsorships and, industry media and syndicates like that. If we made the shift earlier on creating our own media engine and having control over that and having control over all the account coverage and controlling the narratives. And I think that would have been a big shift for us. We would have been able to accelerate further. For now, we continue to invest in those media channels as is, but we're kind of playing catch up now. How do we take the away from media spend towards media creation and then within our own narrative? So that's, a little bit in that sense. I think from a scaling perspective as well, I think getting culture carriers in market as soon as possible was a really important lesson for us, and particularly at a leadership level and at an execution level. I think that would have accelerated us faster as we learned. We also learned as we went into each new market what success looked like. I think to put it into perspective, we would launch in Australia from New Zealand. It might have taken us 18 months to get our first big like us national retailer that gives us a network between law enforcement and coverage around theft that we can build upon. In the US is about the same amount of time, 18 months or so. And then the UK, it was more like 3 months because we had learned that actually we don't need to be in market with a physical office to be producing brand, to be connecting, to be understanding objections and problems and how we set up. And I was in the UK 3 years before we launched in the UK, just listening, not selling. And meeting people and networking, and that really accelerated. When we were in a market, people were like, "We're so glad to have you here," versus you are here. So I think, looking longer, probably part of the brand. If I'm going into the US, for instance, I spent 3 to 4 years exhibiting there before we even had a product to sell. But we would be investing on the floor with a tablecloth on the table, and we were listening, and that drove a lot of our go-to-market and product investment to get ready for that market.
It's really important, what you just said. When you were there on the ground, what were you actually listening to? What signals were you listening to? Were you taking into account how they speak, literally, versus like how they actually position the software to tackle the problem? Because I think a lot of people, even to date, Sean and I speak to, I think they're miscalculating how different the US is and how big the market is. I'd love to understand what you're listening to involved. Were you hopping from West Coast to East Coast? Were you targeting, certain trade shows? What was the actual steps that you took before you were ready to get?
Yeah. So for instance, there's nothing like being in front of a customer with a design, right? And a value proposition, and not a full-fledged product to sell, and seeing, does their pulse rate increase? Do their eyes glaze over? Is there visible excitement or not? Is the language we're using? So literally on the fly after that conversation, change the TV slide. It's just something else, right? Like, they're not this group of people isn't resonating with this type of value proposition, but actually the hypothesis around the innovators or the next gen of leaders seem to be coming in, and there's a reason for testing hypothesis and assumptions. We were even at an event 2 months ago for a new vertical, and we were testing pricing on the fly. I literally, hey, what's the first feedback? And they're like, yeah, we can get that done. That's good. Or, oh, no. And then we go, actually, this was too easy to sell. I think we're leaving money on the table here. Let's come back. But it's putting hypotheses to test, right, across all of it. Value pricing, what we're turning up, the designs. But then for them, they see us next year and they can see that intel has been fed back into this. And they're thinking, you're listening to me. You really are. But you're not just listening to what I want. You're listening to the problem. And you're thinking about the solution differently. So, yeah, everything. Brand, price, commercial product.
So tactically, did that mean like you had to have separate website for North America with separate pricing plans, landing pages, or just spin it?
From the start, we went, hey, default market. If we want to, vision is to connect communities to stop crime. The biggest center for that is the US in terms of the opportunity. We're going to default the website in all language to US, right from the start, in all language. And then, we're just going on that. New Zealand had a fairly captive market at the time. Australia were expanding, but we knew the US was where we wanted to be, so we set up that way.
Yeah, nice. Anyone listening in, any Kiwi companies or Aussie companies who are looking to enter the US market, I suppose with all your learnings, what would you do differently? What's kind of the one or two top tips?
That could go going from my end. I was thinking about my own experience and trying to market them around and get through, being bolder. Like, you're just, as Kiwis, they're far too humble. When I said be bold, I was like, okay, challenge yourself, now 5x that. Because that's just the way things are turning out. And the confidence in the selling and what you believe in. It was a really, really big one. I think, understanding the game. It's a bigger game, like real flat structures. You can get through to the head of, X, Y, Z department on a phone call. But at these large organizations, when you start thinking about the enterprise level side of things, there is a lot of hierarchy, a lot of layers to it. And if you don't get to that proper buy-in and understand that, you're not going to win, and usually they're quite gated. So understanding also the influence points that are around these people, politics and hierarchy does play a thing. I'm not saying politics in a bad way, but certain people have certain leverage and connections matter in this game as much as possible. Bias to accents early, but as you build authority, that dissipates away. You can get them in, and having someone on ground and market is important. Reasonably early on, New Zealand Australian stories, as much as they're awesome, don't resonate.
They don't seem to care.
Don't seem to care. Even if you've got the best logos, in your industry, etc. It's like, it's cool, but the US is different. You're not really here then. And then there's the whole seizing opportunities. The opportunity's so big there, but when you've got a window, you've got to take them, because they don't come around that long, and there's some watershed moments. You need to tell them. And you don't really get an understanding. I'm still learning the scale of the US. I don't know how big it is, but you go to places like Texas and just this market alone, massive, right? Let alone California and everywhere else, Florida, New York. That's the big one for me. And then for any New Zealand company going in there, again, just coming back to be like hyper focused. It's like start small, don't be overawed about the whole market. Start in the state, start with an ICP, start with a persona, start with an account list. Like nail that and then expand out from there. People quite easily get lost in the weeds with the investment required to take their market. And then start small.
And what about sequencing, mate? Like, if you were to do it again, would you still go the Australian route? Did you go to US or UK first? And what did you do? And would you do it differently?
Yeah, US first. I think US is always a big one. Certainly New Zealand, Australia, UK, like very aligned culturally. UK easier in terms of like just geographical span, right? Like geographical spread of customers. You can get them all to London, or they're either all in London, or you can get them all to London and you connect. US is so different. We want to bring prospects together in a community event. We're flying them all around the country, and it's a lot harder. I still think Australia and New Zealand is a great test spot, but the hypothesis around, particularly from a product and go-to-market perspective, that we have in Australia, it's not the same rule book for the US. And so as much as starting with Australia and New Zealand, I think getting US on your list really, really early, and again going back to listening and testing and hypothesis and spending a few $1,000s to get a booth spot or a table and test stuff early is really, really important. And then find the right time. We didn't have a product to sell because by listening and market, we knew we had to rebuild it from the ground up to meet scale, and that's part of the discovery. But that's paying dividends now.
Nice. And mate, what's next at Auror? What's coming up? What keeps you excited, I guess, for the next 3 years, 5 years?
Yeah, it's just awesome, right? Yeah, as a company and as a leader, you're always got to keep evolving, right? And redefining, and 0 to 10 million, you're like, cool. Now I've got to build a team and an engine. You got to redefine yourself as a leader first. How do I show up? How's my 4 walls? How am I getting my work-life balance right? How am I turning up as a good father and as a husband and getting that right first and values? And then how do I bring that in with the team and get people inspired and aligned and connected to drive at it? And we've got to that stage now where we're crossing 3 years ago what the vision was, and now 10x that again. And reset 10x it, and then back to first principles again, right? I'm like, what's the value system? How am I showing up? I've got 2 kids now. My mix is different. How do I make sure all that's good? And then as a leader, how do I get in on the edges to find out where my real growth areas are? Get into the grey. Really exciting. We're able to attract amazing talent as well. So that's always part of the system. They'll bring some amazing experiences. I'll level up, they'll level up, and we'll keep executing. But I think the vision ahead of us now is we're going through this hiring, get the foundations right, and it's execution. The new business. You might as well call it another company now, which is cool.
Exactly.
That's what keeps me excited.
Exactly. Or a 2.0. One thing I did forget to ask, when your sales teams and marketing teams both are growing at a rate, how do you ensure that synergy remains? Because what used to work 3 years ago, where you could just walk up to someone's desk and have that coffee chat or coffee connection, no longer is there. You're talking to someone in the US or the UK. Obviously, you're working, crazy hours. So how do you ensure that consistency remains across the team and at all levels?
Yeah, it's a really good one. I guess you got probably start with the leadership level around how we connect and align on priorities and keeping the consistency and cohesion between what the goals of the company are, how we're disseminating down on a regional perspective and a global perspective and by function. But then the next level is keeping the cohesion around simple things like brand. How do we talk to a product? How do we position a product? And again, that's part of the scale is you're starting to have center of excellence and center selling, product marketing leaning in and going, these are the 3 things they're going to tell you, and here's your 4 responses, and here's how you demo, and here's the boot camp, and it's coming down to that level of execution to get the cohesion and the consistency. And then you've RevOps plays a real big role in that, on how we're getting intelligence in across all of our systems, from customer from Salesforce to HubSpot, Catalyst, everything, and making sure we're turning that into actionable insights that we're operating on, finding the holes and blockers and then jumping in. But it's all part of the building the launch while we're at it.
Thanks, playbooks. Nice. The last one from me, Mark, is so obviously you've already achieved a lot. You're on your path to achieve even further. When you do decide to hang up your boots, what do you want to be known for? What does Marcus want to be known for?
I guess above all, just was a decent human being. I think. We think about what New Zealand can export to the US. It's authenticity. It's human. I think that's something we don't talk about a lot in terms of getting cut through in that market and turning up as people. So. Hopefully I go away and people go, he was a decent guy, and little things he wouldn't walk past. If he saw something bad happening or a piece of rubbish, he was always there. He was on the front line, and hopefully I'm certainly growing from the people around me, and hopefully they felt they grew as well. And so when they left here, they felt like they did the best work of their lives and can give back to the ecosystem and bring all the boats up. So hopefully that's
a good response. Yeah,
I get
awesome.
Good.
Still waiting for someone to just pop up and go, because I was the best or something like that.
Me too. I'm waiting for someone to be like, that I was better than everyone else. That's it'll come. It'll come.
The challenge I'm not even being bold. That's I would talk about that as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. Be bold, Marcus. Be that guy. Like I was better than all of them. Yeah.
That's what keeps it healthy, right? There's never a moment. The whole point of you launch something and I get about 2 seconds of gratification. I'm like next. enjoy the process more than just the outcome.
100%.
Keep going.
100%. We all need to do better. But awesome response, mate. Would love to take you through quickfire rounds. These are nice and easy. Sean will keep you in check if you drift. So,
That's
favorite
one answer. One answer.
One,
No
one
multiple
only.
choice. Yeah.
That's it. Favorite sports team.
Manchester United,
Oh, really?
huge, tragic.
Right. All right. Interesting. Good. Favorite music genre? What are you listening to? What's on the playlist?
Albums or go genre?
Just genre.
Okay, genre.
You can go band. You can go band. You can pick a band.
You can get
Yeah.
really.
He says
really
genre, but most people have picked a band or something
Yeah,
like that.
you can go granular.
I'll just go 90s hip hop.
90s hip hop.
I'd say
Yeah.
Ready to Die album by Notorious B.I.G.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I picked that. Yeah, nice. Another one to the hip hop list.
That's all he actually wanted out of that. Just for you to say hip hop.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
podcast isn't going to get published just to be that snippet.
Yeah.
90s hip hop.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, if you see my Spotify algorithm though, it's probably the Wiggles and things like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We all know that. Favorite movie of all time?
Gladiator.
Oh, yeah, Gladiator.
All
That's
right.
Gladiator, mate, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Didn't
yeah.
even blink. Just straight
Yeah.
up. Nice.
It's like
that
get
is a
on
good
the
movie.
plane and watch the first 10 minutes again and
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. What about favorite place to visit with the family?
I'm going to say top of mind, Tokyo. Just got back from Tokyo
Yeah.
months ago and had a great time as a family.
Japan's been
Things-
super popular. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, super affordable at the moment as well with the currency. Like just a
It's in our list.
Yeah.
No, this is a fun one. This is the main one for us on this podcast, Marcus. So if you're given 2 jars, this is going to be your last meal. One said crunchy. The other one said smooth. Both peanut butter. Which one are you picking?
What?
I've
We're
actually
gonna say
guessed.
last 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He said
can
hip
guess
hop.
himself.
I'm like, he's a hip hop guy. He's definitely going to go smooth.
Oh, man.
Well, that
So
was
it's,
first thing was like crunchy goes into like chicken satay. So I was like, am I giving it?
Oh, yeah, true.
Crunchy, but no.
Yeah.
You're getting it on your finger and you're going to eat it and then we shoot you. That's how this works. It's the last thing you get to eat. Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome, mate. Well, thanks for giving up your time. Thanks for sharing your insights. It's been
Yeah, it
fun.
was really good.
No, and thanks for creating a platform for us to, to share some stories and some yarns. Long time listener, first time caller. So yeah, appreciate your work.
Awesome.